The radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Friday, August 2nd. I hope everybody's ready for a fantastic weekend. My weekend's going to be busy. We're basically packing for a trip to Spain. We'll fly on Monday, so no show on Monday. I'll be in airplanes all day, and I'm not sure about next week. I'm hoping Tuesday and Wednesday to have shows. Exactly what time, I don't know, because that'll depend on getting acclimated and exactly how the internet works and all of that. I get my setup going, and then I go to Frankfurt for a couple of for the weekend. I leave Thursday. I'm not sure I'll be able to do any shows from Frankfurt. I will try, and then back in Spain for the rest of August. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit crazy the next few weeks for the Yaron Brook Show, but hopefully you guys will be patient with me, and we will see how to make it work. We will make it work. So yeah, thank you in advance for your patience. Let's see. So we're gonna catch up on some news items quickly, or not so quickly. I don't know. We'll see. And then I've got a positive topic, which we're going to talk about, seeing beauty and greatness in our world around us, all around us, focusing on that. So we'll talk about that. And Under Leroy says, don't get beheaded in Spain. Don't get beheaded in Spain. In Spain? I don't know that. I don't think they behead people anymore in Spain. The Inquisition is long gone. Although more likely I would have been burnt at the stake in Spain. Yeah, I'm not worried about beheading in Spain or in Frankfurt or anywhere else. I will at some point be going to Israel. So anyway, that is where we are. Speaking of Israel, you know, we kind of, I guess everybody in Israel certainly, and everybody around here is sitting and, what is that? 2 people were beheaded in 30 hours there recently. Really? I'm going to have to look that up. Maybe Spain's more dangerous than I thought it was. What's going on in Spain? Anyway, I will not be beheaded in Spain, don't worry. But anyway, everybody's waiting to see what happens in Israel. The what do you call it? Funeral for Hania was in Qatar today, this morning. So I expect 24 hours for that. So I would expect something tomorrow. You know, the expectation is that Iran, Hezbollah, the Iranian kind of allies in Iraq and the Houthis will all launch at Israel at once. At the same time, the expectation is also that the United States and the UK and others will intervene to help Israel just knock down the sheer quantity of missiles. That being said, Joe Biden is not happy. He's just unhappy. I mean, he keeps thinking that all of this is Israel's fault, and Israel is kind of asking for it, and really, they really need to stop and negotiate a deal. So according to Axios, I don't know if this is true, Joe Biden had a, quote, difficult call last night with Netanyahu, during which he reportedly told Netanyahu he needs to stop his escalation of tensions in the region and move towards an immediate ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas. With Biden further telling Netanyahu that he would help Israel to defeat an Iranian and Hezbollah attack this time, but if he decided to escalate again, he shouldn't expect the United States to bail him out. So let me get this. Dropping a bomb on a stadium full of kids and killing 12 children, that is not escalation. Not escalation at all. Killing the guy who probably ordered that attack, together with all the other attacks, the guy who's been responsible for all the attacks on Israel since October 7th on the Northern Front, and who is responsible for the deaths of many Israelis. And on top of that, as a cherry on the cake, was responsible for the killing of 241 Marines in 1983. That is escalation. That is just horrible. That is just unbelievably unacceptable to escalate, to kill somebody like that. I mean, what has he done to the world? Children, we can manage without that. And, of course, killing the guy who literally signed off on the October 7th attack, on their murder, the torture, the plunder, the rape. Killing him, escalation, definitely escalation. I mean, God, yeah, maybe deserved to die, but not if the price for that was escalation. I mean, this is the same president who will not let the Ukrainians defend themselves properly because he's afraid of escalation. Like, we can't give them Abrams tanks because then Putin might drop a nuke. Oh, he didn't drop a nuke when we gave them Abrams tanks. But we can't give them F-16s because he'll drop a nuke. Oh, we gave them F-16s and he didn't drop a nuke. So, but we certainly can't let them fire missiles into Russia because he'll drop a nuke. I mean, this is a president who is so afraid of his own shadow, I guess. Escalation. God, that word has to go down as one of the most ugliest, disgusting words in the American language now. I mean, yes, I want escalation. Escalation is exactly what is required when dealing with evil. You have to escalate until evil is wiped out. You have to escalate until victory is achieved. You have to escalate until the bad guys stop or dead. Escalation is the name of the game, because victory should be the name of the game. But the pragmatists who run our foreign policy, because, you know, after all, we don't actually think Biden runs our foreign policy, but the people behind Biden, who are the pragmatists in the State Department and in other parts of the government, appease. That's all they know. All they know. And they're not very good at it. I mean, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And then say at the same time, all right, we'll support you this time, but we won't do it again. Like, why are you supporting us? Why are you supporting Israel this time? I mean, don't support Israel. If it's not in America's national interest, don't support Israel. But don't support him now, but not again, you know, and wag a finger. And I mean, Israel should really, Israel really needs to tell America to go take a hike. And it's sad it's not in a position to do so. And it is sad that, because I don't know that it's going to get any better no matter who wins, no matter who wins the election. Certainly if Kamala wins, it's going to get worse. And I don't know what else. It's just going to get worse in the future. Israel better figure out a way to be more independent of the United States, and it needs to figure that out quickly. And as I've said many times, the only way to do that is Israel needs to get rich, stinking rich. It needs to make a lot of money. It needs to be so rich that they don't need America. It needs to be so rich they can buy whatever they need on the open market, American or not. They need to be rich. And to do that, they need to liberate their economy. They need a free market. Again, one thing we can be sure of, nobody's going to listen to me. Anyway, that's where we are. So everybody with bated breath is waiting. In Turkey, it turned out that certain people were celebrating, were mourning the death of Hania, indeed the president of Turkey, is mourning the death of Hania, the head of Hamas. And they were posting pro-Hamas and pro-Hania stuff on Instagram, and Instagram was deleting some of that stuff. And Satoki has decided to ban Instagram. So Instagram is now banned in Turkey. Turkey has an embassy in Israel. That embassy lowered their flag to half-mast in honor of Hania yesterday. I mean, the ambassador was called in. I think he should be kicked out. He should be sent home. Let him go cry over Hania in Istanbul. Don't let him stay in Israel. And the Israeli ambassador should be brought home. And given Erdogan's threats to put ground troops in Israel, the ambassador should be called home and diplomatic relations should be suspended. But all I can say to the Turks are, let's see you. I dare you. I mean, not really, because I feel sorry for the poor Turkish soldiers who actually have to fight the stupid wars of their leadership. I don't think the soldiers are at fault here. But he's not going to do it. But he has threatened to send troops to Lebanon. And to the Israeli leadership, Netanyahu and the rest of them, shame on you. Shame on you. Sitting on your hands, waiting to see what the Iranians do. Now is the time for preemption. Now is the time to send troops into southern Lebanon. Now is the time to take out the drone facilities, the launch facilities of the Iranians, and it wouldn't harm at all to just take out their entire oil infrastructure, or at least their capacity to export oil. Cripple them before they dare launch. By the way, if you do that, then you're not as dependent on the United States to help you. Take that out of play by really going after them, crippling them, establishing your dominance, unequivocal military superiority. That is ultimately the only thing that will protect Israel in the long run is, you know, having that military superiority, showing the world and the Arab world that you have it, and not bending a knee, not to Biden, and not to the Iranians, and not to anybody. So anyway, but Israel's sitting on its hands. It's bombing here and there. There was a bombing of a airport in northern Syria near the border of Lebanon. That's the airport in which the Iranians are shipping missiles to the Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's the airport they're using in order to ship the missiles into Lebanon. And Israel, you know, destroyed some stuff there and crippled the airport for a little while until they fix it and they start doing it again. Yeah, this is not how you win, guys. You don't sit in your hands waiting for the attack and begging the Bidens of the world for help. All right. Got that off my chest. What else? Yeah, American forces in the Middle East obviously on standby. They're ready. They expect attacks on military bases of the United States there as well. Last time Iran responded, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad because of the air defense systems. That's why it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad because 300 missiles and drones were shot out of the sky at a cost of probably, you know, of billions of dollars. It wasn't so bad. Oh yeah, when you threw that punch at me, it just scraped me, and then when you punched me in the belly, I've got pretty good abs. I didn't feel it, so I'm just gonna walk away and let you do it again tomorrow. No, if a bully does that to you, you bash their teeth in, particularly if you're capable of it, particularly if you have the means to do it. You don't just say, oh, well, just scrape by. It's okay. I managed. It was a very serious attack. It's what they have. They're not, they're pretty incompetent. It is Iran. It is Hezbollah. They're pretty incompetent. But if Hezbollah joins, and we're talking about seconds before impact, it could be very nasty. It could be a lot of casualties, but we'll see. And it could be that the Israeli defense system is up to the task. But that doesn't excuse the attack. And it doesn't justify sitting on your hands and waiting. And it just doesn't justify not taking out the bully. You don't want to see my abs on the Leroy. It would make you feel bad. All right, what are we doing? Yeah, I remember all right, we're going to return to this sensitive topic one more time. The boxing controversy from yesterday, the Caliph, the Algerian boxer. So from what I can tell, the Algerian boxer, by the way, the Italian boxer apologized today. Who knows if the apology is real, if she got pressured by the boxing association to apologize. But anyway, the bottom line of the story is that this Algerian woman, or maybe, is, so if you test her for the chromosome, she's XY. But she has no male genitalia, from what I understand. And she was born that way. She, he, whatever you want to call it. So it is a case of one of these real abnormalities, where you've got XY, but you don't have a penis, and you don't have testicles. And indeed, you have some female genitalia. So what are you? And this is where, again, I think it's complicated. And maybe you say that if you're like that, you just don't compete in sports, and that's it. Not in female sports because of, you might have the levels of testosterone as a male because you have the XY, so the testosterone is strong in you. And therefore, but then are we going to test all women for testosterone levels? Probably not. We don't want to do that. But yes, they have checked this. This is part of supposedly the Boxing Association's way in which they check. This is being acknowledged. And again, if you think about Algeria does not recognize trans. Algeria is not a country where you choose your gender because you feel like it. So, but there are biologically cases like this, right? So, again, I don't know what the answer to this is. The people in the IOC, or not the IOC, because this is the Boxing Association, are trying to figure it out. It's clearly a borderline case. I don't have a clear-cut answer to this. I don't know. The only thing I would say is they need to be clear about the rules, and they need to be clear about what's going on. But it's very revealing to me that so many people freak out about this. That is so disturbing to people. This is something they can't. Nature throws curveballs at you, and there are all kinds of strangeness of nature, and to freak out and go crazy and nuts and so on about it. And maybe you disagree. Maybe you think she shouldn't be boxing. Maybe you think she is a he, but a he without a penis, with a female genitalia. That doesn't quite add up either. So exactly what it is, it's a borderline case. And if you don't know how to deal with subtlety, if you don't know how to deal with borderline cases, then you freak out. And that's what the right has just lost it on this case. And to me, it's mainly sad. Right? I don't know, puberty. I don't know. Again, I don't know how you measure that. If you don't have male genitalia, what does puberty in that sense mean? If you don't have either complete genitalia, what does that exactly mean? The whole thing is, the normal categories that we have just don't fit it. That's a reality because nature has thrown us a borderline case. Supposedly there is evidence it's ex-wife. Supposedly they tested and they disqualified her for a period, and then I guess proof was presented for the androgynous, I guess, status. Anyway, I'll repeat what I said yesterday. It's not clear. Stop freaking out. You know, that's the point. The point is too much is made of this. Yeah, I mean, there's some ambiguity about the tests and are they real, and does she have, is it XY or is it not? People are coming to conclusions and jumping and making without really knowing. And I would not go with testosterone levels then, because a lot of women, if you look at those female swimmers, I'll bet you they have high testosterone levels. So high testosterone, there are a lot of women with high testosterone levels. Indeed, a lot of the women athletes have high testosterone levels. I wouldn't use that. That is not a sign of maleness. Being a man does not involve I know a lot of men with low testosterone levels. Indeed, as we get older, we lose a lot of testosterone. Does that, anyway, complicated stuff. And the knee-jerk reactions to it, and the attitude of, it has to fit my talking points. It has to fit my left-right perspective. It has to fit my narrow conception of what is a woman. It turns out that they are borderline cases in spite of what some on the right would like to believe. All right. And somebody has to do the thinking about how to deal with it with regard to sports. And the Boxing Association has made a decision. You might not agree with it, but it's the decision. Everybody knows about it. She's been competing as a woman for 4 years now, or longer, a lot more than 4 years, but she competed in the Tokyo Olympics, competed in the World Championships. Just take a breath. Take a breath. Slow down. The world will not end. And in particular, and I'll get to this in a minute, I've seen post after post after post on Twitter saying, well, tell with the Olympics. I'm never watching the Olympics again. The Olympics is a disgrace. The whole Olympic thing is a disgrace. Who could ever watch the Olympics again after what we saw in the boxing ring? Talk about that in a minute. Talk about missing out on beauty and excellence and amazing stuff. Prisoner release. We talked about this yesterday, but just a few additional elements. The Russian who was released from German jail and flown to Russia is clearly a Russian assassin. It is no accident that Putin met him at the airport, got a big hug for an assassin. One of the things Russia, and before it the Soviet Union, were very proud of was the fact that they did not let their agents rot in Western jails. They would do whatever it took to get them out, including taking hostages and then releasing them, pretending that they're guilty and then releasing them, as they did with the Wall Street Journal, writer, which proved to work as a strategy. So they got their assassin back. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if the West has injected him with some potion that will kill him slowly, and within 6 months he's dead? I mean, that would be like sci-fi, spy, cool stuff, which they would never do because, you don't do that. You don't sleight of hand. That's wrong. There's a Geneva Convention or something about that. I do it. Putin hired and paid for the hitman. The Russian intelligence. He is a senior officer within the, not KGB anymore, whatever the FSB, I think. One kind of funny story was there was a sleeper cell in Slovenia, or Slovenia, I think. In Slovenia, a man and a woman who were married, I guess, but they were in deep cover. So they were Slovenians for all intents and purposes, and they were Russian agents. And it turned out that the Slovenians discovered that, and they arrested it. But they never told the kids that they were agents. And as part of the business exchange, the family got to fly to Russia. And on the plane, the parents had to explain to the children that they were now going to live in Russia. These are kids that don't speak a word of Russian. They don't want to be in Russia. They don't know anything about Russia. And not only that, but they were met at the airport by Putin, again, same plane. And you should see the faces of these miserable children. I'm sure they, had to say goodbye to their friends and a life in Slovenia and a whole identity of being Slovenian and all of that. And now they're being told, no, you're Russian and you're going to live in Russia for the rest of your, for at least the rest of your childhood. I mean, how horrible is that? I mean, imagine if you've ever seen the show The Americans. It was really good, although I lost patience with it because it made out the Americans to be pretty dumb and stupid, and these Russian sleeper agents were really smart. But the Americans, it was very well made, and it was the same thing where they were these sleeper agents in the United States. The parent and the kids didn't know. So the prison exchange has gone through, and that was kind of interesting. Richard, first comment is Richard here, and he says, check out Apple's motion to dismiss the government's antitrust case against them. I think it's written to appeal to a lay audience. Read the first two paragraphs. It's truly heroic, says the government. Outlandish claim bears no resemblance to reality. Yeah, so this is, it's pretty good. I have it here. I can read you the first two paragraphs. It's 49 pages long, so I won't read you all of that, but it's their motion to dismiss or before trial. So saying there's no case here. This is the antitrust case against Apple and its iPhone. So let me read this to you. This is the kind of stance companies should take. It needs a little oomph, even more, but this is pretty good in the culture in which we live. It says, quote, the government asked this court to endorse a theory of antitrust liability that no court has ever recognized and to sanction a judicial redesign of one of the most innovative and consumer-friendly products ever made, the iPhone. Apple has invested billions of dollars to create a revolutionary, cutting-edge product and to distinguish iPhone in a fiercely competitive smartphone market through consumer-oriented features. This lawsuit is based on the false premise that iPhone's success has come not through building a superior product that consumers trust and love, but through Apple's intentional degradation of iPhones to block purported competitive threats. That outlandish claim bears no relation to reality. And the government's theory that Apple has somehow violated the antitrust law by not giving third parties broader access to iPhone runs headlong into black-letter antitrust law protecting a firm's right to design and control its own product. That's the first paragraph. The truth, of course, is that Apple has granted third parties exceptionally broad access to iPhone, its features, and the App Store, while also enforcing reasonable limitations to protect consumers and ensure the safe, secure, and seamless iPhone experience for which Apple is justifiably known. But even setting that aside, it is simply not a viable theory of antitrust law for the government to contend that Apple must open its platform on its own technologies to third parties on the terms and conditions that those parties prefer. The third parties at issue here are well-capitalized social media companies, big banks, and global gaming developers, all of whom are formidable competitors in their own right, and none of whom have the same incentives to protect the integrity or security of iPhone as Apple has. So that's about as good as you'll get in the culture we have. I mean, they're not going to question the very essence of antitrust law. They're not going to question the whole foundation of it. They're not going to acknowledge that you can interpret antitrust law any way you want, and courts have and legislatures have over the years. But within the context of acknowledging antitrust law and acknowledging the world in which we live, that is about as strong as a statement as you're going to get, and good for Apple for fighting it. Again, they go on for 49 pages defending themselves, although I guess like 9 of those pages are just like the table of contents, and there's probably a lot of footnotes. But yeah, it's good. It's a good defense. Good for Apple. Hopefully they win. They need to be strong, and it has. While it doesn't deal in morality, so that's not what lawyers do, and it's not what the court would respond to. It has a moral tone of indignation to it, which is good. So, which is good. I'm happy to see Apple fighting this, and the rest of the thing is more loyalty stuff. But it really is. Even the rest of it is really written so that I think the layman can understand it. So if you want to read it, just Google, Apple motion to dismiss antitrust, which is what I did, and I found it pretty easily. It's pretty easy to find. All right. Yeah, I mean, I forgot to say this about the prisoner release. Did you notice that J.D. Vance said about the prisoner release that he supports it and it's great and he's happy to see the Americans come home? And he basically said, yeah, it's because of Trump. Trump did it. Trump did it. He said, we have to ask ourselves, why are they coming home? I think it's because bad guys all over the world recognize Donald Trump's about to be back in office, so they're cleaning house. That's a good thing. I think it's a testament to Donald Trump's strength. I mean, I know he's on campaign mode and he has to make stuff up in order to make his candidate look good. But that is pretty wild, even for them. That's pretty out there. I'm not a big fan of prisoner releases and prison exchanges, and I'm happy to see these guys home. But to give this credit to Trump is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. But there you go. I mean, Trump is going to take credit for it. J.D. Vance just got in front of it beforehand. Let's see. Yeah, a couple of more stories quickly. One is Kamala's doing pretty well in the polls. So I don't know if this can sustain. I don't know if this can hold. I don't know how long she will do well in the polls, and I don't know if she can beat Trump. But it does look like the poll numbers are much better for her than for Biden. The gap that opened up once people realized that Biden was not completely here seems to have closed, and she's actually doing better than Biden was doing even months and months ago. I mean, it's still true that Republicans have basically picked the only candidate, literally the only candidate that might be able to lose to Kamala Harris. I mean, there's no question in my mind that pretty much anybody else could have crushed her. In particular, Nikki Haley. I mean, can you imagine Nikki Haley versus Kamala Harris? Which Indian American wins? I wonder what's her name would have done. What's her name? The anti-immigration woman who told Vivek that she could never vote for him because he was Indian. I wonder what she would have done if Nikki Haley was the candidate, the Republican candidate, and both the Democrat and the Republican were both Indian. I mean, she would have basically declared that the end of the world and Coulter, the end of America. America was finished because Indians were running the country. Not only was the CEO of Google and Microsoft an Indian, but also the candidate to the United States. Yeah, that was Ann Coulter. So I do think Donald Trump is the only one who could lose to Nikki Haley. I don't think he will, but he could. And I don't think other Republicans would. But yeah, Nikki Haley seems to be doing well. She's energized. She's putting some energy into the Democratic Party. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure that energy will sustain beyond kind of this really initial thrust. All right. So she is now, I think she's locked down enough delegates. I do think now she's the official candidate, Kamala. Kamala, yes. Kamala is the one running for president. Nikki is the one who I think should have run against her better than Trump and would have beaten her solid, and you would have had 2 Indian Americans, if that is something. If that is a thing, Indian American. I don't know if that's a thing. Anyway, let's see. Okay, final story, Milei. So Milei is another great example. I said Nikki energized the Democrats. Interesting. No, I meant Kamala. Kamala is energizing the Democrats, and Kamala is, for now, but once she gets out there and starts speaking and expressing her views, and I mean, she's going to be careful and position herself very centrist, but you know, once she does all that, we'll see if that holds. We'll see if that holds. I mean, Trump is not doing himself any favors by talking about Kamala the way he talked about her, and you know, questioning her blackness, which is like the dumbest thing you could do. Who the hell cares? But that is what you got. Anyway, there is this. Oh, Troy. Thank you, Troy. Troy just gifted 50 memberships, 50. So you, if you're on the show right now, you might have become a member. Yeah, all the non-members have just become members, pretty much, I think. So thank you, Troy. That is very substantial. Really, really appreciate that. Oh, yeah, Milei. Yes, Milei. So Milei is running an experiment. What happens when you eliminate rent control? And what happens when you deregulate housing? Right? What would happen? Hard to believe. What would happen? And it turns out that if you do that, I mean, I'm shocked. Supply goes up and prices come down. Supply goes up and prices come down. Now, in Argentina, which had a lot of price controls on rents and a lot of restrictions on housing, if you eliminate those price controls, prices go down, Edward, not up. You get housing deflation, not inflation. God, you need to be sent back to Econ 101. You'd think Edward would have has been on the show enough times that he would know what the right answer is. Anyway, the supply of housing available for rent and buying in Argentina has gone up by 200%. 200%. And rents, and I think maybe also for sale, but certainly rents have plummeted, and they're down more than 20%. Supply goes up, rents and prices go down. I mean, that is wild. And it's completely predictable. And it's exactly what you'd expect. And it's beautiful to see. And nobody will learn from it. Nobody in the world will learn from it. I mean, if the United States wants housing prices to come down, get rid of housing regulations. If the United States wants to increase the supply of housing, get rid of housing regulations. This is not rocket science. This is not calculus. This is not difficult stuff. Milei just did it a few months ago, and it worked. It's magic, but it's not magic. It's just logic. It's just the way an economy works. It's just Econ 101. So congratulate Milei, congratulate Argentinians. At least in this one realm, the cost of living has gone down. I expect this to have an impact on poverty, an impact on homelessness, and an impact on significant impact on quality of life. And this will be among the many benefits that they get from all the other things. But this is a low-hanging fruit. This is something he did without Congress, without approval. You can do it like that. The U.S. can do it as well. At the state, local, and federal level, we could do it. And New York could eliminate price controls on rent right now, and prices will come down, not up. Quality will go up. Pretty amazing stuff. Pretty amazing stuff. All right. I think that's what I had. Oh, yeah, one other thing. That's what I remembered. All right, so, you know, I've been predicting, I was predicting a recession for a long time. And it never happened. And it never happened. And the economy's doing well, and the economy's growing, and unemployment's really low, and everything's doing well. And today, we got our first kind of negative numbers. Labor market number came in way below expectation. We also got a so labor market came way below. Unemployment number jumped up a little bit to 4.3, which is the highest it's been in quite a long time. And the Dow Jones Industrial went down 750 points. The Nasdaq got pummeled again, and I guess now it's only down 650 points. And yeah, it's maybe we are going to start seeing a more restrictive market, and it could very well be that the Federal Reserve regrets that it didn't cut interest rates on Wednesday, and that it's waiting. Did Intel go down a lot? I'm not in tech. I don't have a lot of stock in tech. I think tech has been way overpriced for a while now, and basically it priced in an unbelievably rosy, optimistic view of the future, which I thought was exaggerated, so I have not been. Intel is down 27% today. Intel, by the way, that's down 27% today because it must have announced layoffs. Intel has received a huge subsidy from the Biden administration in order to build more chip manufacturing plants. So if Intel survives, it'll be because of the government, right? Because of the government. And should it survive? Oh, but Yaron, we need chip manufacturing ability in the United States. We need a company. Yeah, but Intel can't do it. Intel's been a loss maker for a long time. So why are we propping up bad companies when that capital could be deployed to good companies? I'm sure there's startups with new ideas about chip manufacturing and throwing good money after bad. So anyway, Intel down 27%. That's brutal. That is brutal. TSMC is a Taiwanese company, but I mean, I'm sure there are American startups that would like to replace Intel, but they can't replace Intel because Intel's being propped up by the government. It's just horrible. And the market response today is just indicative of the horribleness of the whole thing. Mike, thank you for the $20. Let me again thank Troy for the 50 memberships. That is incredibly generous and amazing support for the Yaron Brook Show. So thank you. If you were a beneficiary of the membership, you should all thank Troy for that. Let me also, if Troy is listening, let me also mention this, that there will be an Ayn Rand conference in Brisbane from starting in the evening of December 6th through the 8th. I will be speaking there. I will be there with Nikos. It will basically be me and Nikos and a bunch of Australians. It'll be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys come to the conference. There are, if you know young people interested in delving deeper into Ayn Rand's ideas, who are potential Ayn Rand University serious students, then they can get a scholarship to come. Now, let me make this clear to all of you listening out there around the world. If you are anywhere in Asia, I know we have listeners potentially in Singapore, in Japan, maybe even China, in Korea, in maybe Taiwan, who knows? Certainly in the Philippines and India. If you guys would like to come to the Ayn Rand conference in Brisbane. And you can apply for a scholarship. All expenses paid, I think. And you can apply for a scholarship if you're a serious student who wants to study objectivism seriously. Then apply for the scholarship. I'd love to get people from all over Asia to come to the conference. We're talking about, again, anywhere in Asia, go to aynrand.org/start here. The Ayn Rand Institute, of course, is a sponsor of the show. And right now, they're taking scholarship applications to the Ayn Rand conference in Brisbane, Australia. I'm looking forward, hopefully, to meeting Troy there. I think he lives in Brisbane. Come on over, sign up, and I don't know if there's a limited flight reimbursement. Probably is. I don't think they'll pay you for a business class ticket. I don't know. I don't know how expensive flights are within Asia. My guess is they're quite expensive. But try them. Go in and submit. I do know they want people to come, particularly because, look, the reality is we're probably not going to do an Ayn Rand conference in Japan or in South Korea or in Taiwan or in any of these places. So this is a kind of an opportunity to, come and do something in, come and participate in an Ayn Rand conference without having to fly to LA, without having to fly to the United States to a full-on OCON. It's a weekend. It's a Saturday, Sunday. It starts Friday night. And I don't know what the flights are from Japan or from Taiwan or from Hong Kong. There's another one, and Singapore. But hopefully they're reasonable flights. And if you're a serious student of objectivism, you're serious about studying objectivism, they'll find the money. I think they will fund it. So come on over. It's just not enough people in Tokyo, and language is a big issue in Japan. So the reality is that Japan, Asia, the language barrier is real. When I go to Japan and I speak in Japan, I always have a translator, a local Japanese objectivist, wonderful guy, who translates most of what I say. So otherwise, it's very difficult. The same problem you have in Korea, the same problem you have in much of China, not all. Hong Kong, of course, you don't. In Singapore, you don't. They speak English in both. But in mainland China, certainly. I don't know. I think in the Philippines, they speak English. In India, they're obviously speaking English. So there's a lot of opportunities for Asians to come and participate. We're really eager for it. I'm excited about this conference. The first conference we've ever had in that part of the world. Australia technically is not Asia, it's Australia, but in that part of the world, in the Western Pacific, I guess. New Zealand is another one, of course. New Zealand. If you're in New Zealand, please come and apply for scholarships. So aynrand.org/start here. Do it today. Get in early so that you get the benefit. All right. So, I was thinking yesterday, I promised you kind of positive shows on Fridays. I know I don't always live up to it. But I was thinking, okay, what can I talk about that's positive? And I'm sitting and I'm watching TV yesterday. And, I wasn't watching this live, but I was watching the Olympics, and not live. It was in the evening NBC primetime Olympics. And I was watching Simone Biles and her teammate Suni Lee and the Brazilian gymnast. And I mean, I was struck by how amazing they are. These are young women. It used to be in gymnastics, it was girls. Now they're mostly women. They're in their 20s. Simone Biles is 27. And they are doing things that are just stunning. Simone Biles does regularly things that no other woman or man, no other woman athlete does in the world. She can jump higher than pretty much any other male athlete. And it's just, stunning how beautiful their routines are, how stunningly able they are. It's not talent even, because God, did they work hard on this. And in the midst of this controversy around the boxing, and all the brouhaha about it, and all the people complaining and talking and bitching and this and that, and the focus on that, instead of take a breath and just watch how beautiful, the execution that these athletes have. Just watch the skill, watch the brilliance of what they do. And this is not, people think this is all physical, it's just muscle. It's not. I mean, think about the mental focus you have to get into to stand on one of those beams. I don't know how wide they are. They're super narrow. And do flips on them and turn on them and go this way and go that way and not fall. I couldn't even get up on the thing. Never mind fall. Never mind flip on it or do anything. I couldn't do the stuff they do on that beam on the floor. And 99% of the world couldn't. Or the floor exercise that Simone Biles does, where she basically gets up over 12 feet into the air while she is twisting and turning. It is just stunning. The vaults. I mean, I did gymnastics when I was a little kid, and we jumped over the horse and stuff like that. But these girls or women, they jump off this thing, they twist in the air, they tumble in there, they do all this thing, and then they land on their feet. I mean, my neck would be broken many, many times over. It's truly stunning, beautiful, amazing, thrilling, exciting. Why would anybody want to spend even one iota of their time on the controversies, the problems, the challenges, the stupidity of things people are doing, the negativity that is embraced by everybody, when there is so much beauty here? Wanda Freeman says the surfing is amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they picked, I'm sure they picked this place in Tahiti, partially because Tahiti is French, but also because this place in Tahiti, the waves just break perfectly. So you have these perfect tunnels in the waves. And the surfers are amazing how they ride those waves inside these tunnels of water. And with the coral reef not far away, so it's a little dangerous. They just have complete command of the water. They have complete command of what is going on around them. I mean, the skill level, the talent, the focus. I mean, we live in a world in which people's attention span is shrinking to milliseconds, and these athletes can control the emotions. And one of the things you notice with the gymnastics is, let's say they're doing a floor exercise or beam. The beam is the hardest, I think. They're on this beam, and in the meantime, somewhere else in the gym, the competition for the floor exercise is going on. So there's music blaring, people are cheering and clapping and getting all excited, and I have to focus on this beam. And there's stuff going on all around me, and I have to shut that out completely shut it out, and be 100% focused on the activity that I'm engaged in, be completely in the moment, and bring all my skill level and all my muscle control and everything that I have has to be completely oriented to the activity that I'm engaged in right now. I mean, how many of us can actually do that on anything? And look, they can slip and really hurt themselves. Really hurt themselves. So it's pretty amazing and beautiful, and a testament to the human mind and the human spirit. You watch Katie Ledecky swim the 1,500 meters. 1,500 meters to swim in competition, the longest race in swimming, and one that women have only recently started swimming in the Olympics. And Katie Ledecky just dominates. But you look at the split times. Pretty much every 50 meters of the 1,500 meters is the same speed. It's stunning, the command she has over her body, over her pace, the ability for about 15 minutes to 15 minutes, for 15 minutes, to stay focused and engaged and on pace, and to have it, every one of those laps, to be almost identical. I was a swimmer. I swum, and I get bored swimming. It's one of the reasons I stopped. It bores me. But the focus you need for that, the effort you need for that, the mental effort. Now, think about Simone Biles. In the Tokyo Olympics, she had a mental breakdown. She says she got the twiddles, tweezers, whatever, where you lose your spatial orientation. And it was completely mental. The stress, it just got to her. And to come back from that and to do what she did, the strength of character is just admirable. And then the twisties, she called it, right? The twisties. And then the other gymnast, Lee, the Asian American, she had kidney disease just a year ago. If you saw photos of her, she was like almost twice the size because of the disease caused her to just swell up. And she was in hospital. And at first they didn't know what it was, and then she had 2 different kidney diseases, and they had to get rid of them. And a year later, she's winning, she's getting a bronze medal in the all-round gymnastics. It's just unreal. And how good they are, how capable they are, and the kind of effort and work and focus that they need to engage in. And again, in contrast to the complainers, the complainers who constantly are complaining about, this athlete or that athlete or the opening ceremony or this or that. All with a basis, but in the big picture of things. There's so much good. There's so much excitement. There's so much energy, focus. Why spend any time, more time than you have to, on the negative? Just let it go, people. Let it go. Life is too short. I tell you regularly, you live once. You don't get a second shot. You don't get any second back. Sitting on Twitter and complaining gains you literally nothing. Watching Simone Biles do what she does inspires, gives you energy to go for it in your own life. Focus on the energy. To hell with the wasted tweets. So focus on the good. Dedicate time to the beautiful. Now, and this is not just in sports. I'm watching the Olympics. My wife and I do it every 4 years. We stay up. For us these days, it's late. We go to sleep relatively early these days relative to when we used to go to bed. But we stay up late, and we love it. We just love it. It just this. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You watch the highlights. Just the expression of excellence and brilliance. I watch the NBA Finals. I watch the Olympics. Sometimes I sometimes watch the Super Bowl. Sometimes I'm off of football lately. I certainly watch the World Cup soccer. We watch the European finals and the American finals, America Cup finals that just happened. I like to see sports at its peak, the best, the very, very best. And I find it inspiring. And the more you know about the kind of prep these athletes have to go through, the dedication they have, the focus they have. Think about it this way. Imagine you decided you had a goal. Imagine you had something you wanted to achieve in your life, a career, in your career, for example. And you said, I am going to dedicate myself to this like Michael Phelps dedicated himself to swimming. I mean, that would be a life changer for almost all of us. And or I'm going to do it like Simone Biles does gymnastics. I'm going to dedicate the focus, the energy, the single-minded. And look, and Simone Biles is married. I think she's married. Yes, she's married. It's not like she's given up life, just does gymnastics, nothing else. So, you know, this is what having a central purpose looks like. And that's what I guess that's what I like about this. For at least for a while in their life, because they can't be their central purpose forever, but at least for a while in their life, these young women and men have a central purpose that they are fully, unequivocally dedicated towards. They work unbelievably hard. They devote unbelievable mental and emotional focus and energy towards it. They shut out all distractions. And they work to be the absolute best that they can be. The absolute best that they can be at what they're doing. And they will not succeed if they are liars and cheaters and stealers. And they will not succeed through shortcuts. They will not succeed if they think short term. Everything they do has to be long term. It has to be rational. They have to acknowledge reality and live by the rules of gravity. Can't ignore gravity. So sports gives you a concretization of what it takes to be successful in a career. What it takes to take your central purpose in life seriously. Because they live their lives in public. Like, we've got a lot of admirable CEOs who live amazing lives and have amazing careers. We don't know much about them. We don't get them on television. We don't see them making the tough decisions. We don't see them, you know, in that office where Steve Jobs decided on the iPhone. We don't see those moments. The athletes, we do. We see them execute, but we also have documentaries about the training and all this. We don't see any of that with CEOs or engineers or other central purposes, other focuses. So embrace it. Embrace sports as a means by which to recommit yourself to excellence, to recommit yourself to career, and to recommit yourself to greatness, to beauty and greatness. So, yeah, Wanda Freeman says, human capacity is only limited by the laws of physics. It sounds like something David Deutsch would say. But you're absolutely right, Wanda Freeman. So, but of course it goes beyond sports. You know, we don't see it really when it comes to business. We don't have it celebrated. We don't have, but you know, this is why Steve Jobs was so influential, because he made a spectacle of his achievements, right? He had Apple announcers, and he'd get up on stage, and he'd do what's called the Dog and Pony Show. But it inspired us. He brought beauty and grace to it. He brought self-esteem to it. He brought drama to it. The announcing of new products. And he created an audience and a buzz and standing ovations. And, you know, it was, you know, and one more thing, right? And he had it down. And for a brief period, we had a sense of business as drama and business as sport. We don't have a Steve Jobs anymore, and that drama, you know, needs a personality like his to create. So we need to create that drama in our own lives. I mean, walk around and admire the world in which you live. Its beauty, its achievements, its success. Yes, you can walk around town and think constantly how much better it could be. How much better it could be if we were free. How much better it could be if there was no zoning. How much, and you know, you need to devote some time to that because it is true. But it's much more productive and inspiring to walk around and look at the positives. Look at the beautiful. Look at the amazing. Look at the awe-inspiring. And there's plenty of it. There's plenty of it. You know, I don't know, I was in the mall the other day, and I noticed, we're in Puerto Rico, of course, that in the, you know, the booths in the middle of the mall where they sell all kind of knickknacks and stuff like that. Well, in Puerto Rico, they have a number of companies competing, one next to the other, with booths in the middle of the mall, selling this new battery technology. So basically selling these big batteries that you can charge up. So, and you can, when there's a power outage, you can charge pretty much anything because they, you know, for a few hours, because they've got this massive capacity, nothing like for $1,000, it's not a generator that can run your own home, but it's only $1,000, and you know, you can run a lot on it. You can run a lot. And I don't remember seeing those even 5 years ago. And now they're everywhere, and there are a number of companies competing with them. Tesla has batteries. Anchor, which is a company, you buy a lot of computer knickknacks, and a number of others. There were like a number of them out there competing, and I was like thinking, you know, I should, this is cool. This is so amazing. I mean, they're making it, you know, hurricanes and stuff like that, they're making life much more achievable, much more enjoyable, much more, this is good. 13345 Bob just said, I blocked myself from accessing Twitter for the next 24 hours. Thanks for the motivation, Yaron. I love that. I love that. I mean, take 1 day a week. No Twitter. 1 day a week. No news. No Twitter. I mean, only Yaron Brook show. That's it. That's the only thing you're allowed to listen to. But yeah, I mean, just think of how much better your life is and how much more productive it is. If you, I mean, I'm not saying don't do it at all, but just do a lot less of it. I was talking to a friend of mine about, you know, the other thing about battery technology. Battery technology is just amazing in its implications. I mean, think about, do you guys have scooters where you live? Think about the scooters. You know, we have a lot of scooters here. Scooters are amazing. I mean, it's amazing technology, not just scooters. You have all kinds of battery-driven transportation. Not cars, but stuff you can rent with your phone and iPhone, and you can just get on and ride. And why didn't they exist 10 years ago and 20 years ago? And the reason is we didn't have powerful enough motors that were small enough, and we didn't have batteries that would last long enough to make it viable. The engines would have to be big, and they would be cumbersome, and the battery would give you a 5-minute ride and you would be out. And here you are, batteries are now small, powerful, motors, efficient motors that are small and powerful, and you got all these scooters. Now, it's not a big deal, but you know, I think most of us just take it for granted. Oh, scooters, okay, they're there. I don't know where they came from. They're there. Good, let's keep going. And not realizing the work, the effort, the focus, the energy that I'd go into that without even knowing it was going into that, that had to go into producing the stuff and the technology and advances and progress that we're making. And if allowed to, there's no end to that progress. There's no end to how wealthy we can become, how successful we can become, how much greatness can be achieved. So celebrate the technology around you. Celebrate the wealth that is around you. Celebrate the beauty that exists out there. And celebrate the people with the skill and the talent and the dedication to entertain us through sports and other forms of entertainment the way that they do. And the people, even more importantly, who dedicated their lives to building these amazing things, the technology that makes our lives so much better, the drugs that make us younger and make us healthier and make us live so much longer and in so much better shape. It is to them that we must be thankful and again, just thinking about that is inspiring. So dedicate some of your time to thinking about it. Troy, thank you. Troy, on top of doing the 50 memberships, have just done 500 Australian dollars. Thank you, Troy. Really, really, really appreciate it. Again, I'm hoping we can meet in Australia. Hopefully you will come to the Brisbane conference, December 6th to 8th. Anybody else interested, please come. And again, thank you, Troy, for making this show possible. Without contributions from listeners like Troy, we couldn't be doing this. There would be no way to do what we do. So, here's my challenge. Not to make a comparison, but Ayn Rand used to send Leonard Peikoff on causality walks, where you went a walk and you found instances of causality. Of course, the instances of causality are everywhere, all around us. You don't even have to go on a walk. But it's a way to concretize an abstract concept. It's a way to make it real for you. And I would say, go on beauty walks. Go on achievement walks. Go on greatness walks. Go on a walk where you identify all the beautiful things. All the things that are testament to human achievements. Go on a walk like that. And I think it'll change your orientation towards life and towards what's going on in the world. If you can just devote a few hours every week to the good, it really will change your whole approach, energy level, focus, ability. We live in many respects, dark times, but we also live in amazing times. And sadly, for whatever reason, we spend most of our time with the darkness. And what I suggest is make an effort, make a conscious effort, a real effort to spend some time on the goodness, on the light, on the positives, on the success, on achievement, and beauty is part of that, right? And anyway, I was inspired by Biles, Simone Biles, and by the Olympics more generally, and about achievement more generally. I'm looking forward to the rest of the Olympics. I'm looking forward to the running and the jumping competitions, particularly the running. My favorite running is the long distance running. The long distance races, because there's amazing strategy in those. So I'm looking forward to like the 1,500 and the 5,000 and 10,000. Those are a lot of fun to watch. Marathons less, because by the time you get to kind of the decisive point, and you don't watch the whole marathon, it's kind of over. The nice thing about 5,000 and 10,000 is they're in the stadium, and you actually can see them. And there's the guy who sits in the back and only in the last few laps moves forward. There's the guy who leads in the front. I mean, there are all kinds of strategies, and different ones have different strategies. The relays are exciting. So yeah, there's just I like the running activities. So I like track and field, and I'm looking forward to that starting, I guess, tomorrow. Maybe it started today, but that's going to be good. I'm going to be in Europe on their time zone watching it once we get to Spain. Okay, what do I want to do now? We've got a bunch of questions. Thank you. Really appreciate that. There is, what do we want to, what is breaking news? Nothing really exciting except the Iranians are threatening, but mainly the threats, I think, are for internal consumption. I think they're shivering in their boots because they know what Israel is capable of. And they're really worried that the Americans will get involved. I mean, anyway, so that is all kind of interesting. All right, let's do your questions. Before that, I'll remind everybody again, as thank you again to Troy. The show is funded for contributions by listeners, you guys. It could not exist without you. Those of you who are here live can use the super chat and the sticker features, and we had a number of stickers in addition to Troy. We had Paul, thank you, Paul. Wes, $50, really appreciate that. Mike, thank you, Mike. Apollo Zeus bought a few memberships, so thank you to all of you guys. I'm probably missing some stickers. Let me go further back. Anonymous user started us off with a sticker. Anyway, you too can support the show even if you're not live. You can show value for value. If you get value from the show, I assume you do, given that you're listening, by supporting the show by a monthly contribution on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, Yaron Brook Show. I'm trying to add significant numbers of Patreon subscribers. I'd like to see that go up. It would be great if we could increase generally our monthly subscribers by about a third, which means I think I've got about 600. So if we got an extra 200, that would be really, really, really huge for me in my life, for the show. So please consider doing that. And yeah, so also you can do it on yaronbrookshow.com/membership, which is PayPal. All right, a few of we want to run through the announcements. I mean, today is the last day we'll run this one, which is tomorrow, August 3rd. There is a showing of We the Living, the movie. We the Living, Ayn Rand's novel, the best movie made of a novel. It will be in Chicago at the Facet Theater at 5:30. Doors open at 5:30. There'll be an in-person introduction to the movie by its producer. I mean, the producer of the cleaned-up version, not the original producer, Duncan Scott, who's done amazing work on this movie, and it looks. Unfortunately, not as beautiful as when it first came out, but as beautiful as you can make an old movie like this look. He will tell the story of how it was discovered. He will tell the story of why every single copy was collected and burnt, except one, and how that one copy was saved, why it was burnt, who burnt it, who ordered it to be burnt. All of that is an amazing story. And then Ayn Rand's response to the movie. He worked with Ayn Rand to try to make it better. Also worked with her on the subtitles. By the way, the subtitles of the new version are easily readable, which is important because the movie's in Italian. And at the end of the screening, there's a Q&A. So tomorrow in Chicago, if you're anywhere in the area, you should go. You should go. It's fabulous. We the Living. 5:30. It really is an inspiring movie. Talk about it. Go look for beauty. Here's beauty coming to your doorstep if you live in Chicago. Don't miss the opportunity. Take your kids, take your spouse, take your friends. They don't have to have read the book. The movie stands on its own as a beautiful movie. To sign up, buy tickets, go to WeTheLivingMovie.com. WeTheLivingMovie.com. So WeTheLivingMovie.com is the website. So please go sign up. Don't miss this. It's a unique opportunity. All right, we talked about the Ayn Rand Institute, and if you live anywhere in Asia, Certainly if you live in Australia and you want to apply for a scholarship to attend the Ayn Rand conference not in Sydney, in Brisbane, Australia. I have no idea why in Brisbane, but in Brisbane, Australia, then you can apply for a scholarship. It's on December 6th to 8th. You can apply to scholarship on AynRand.org. Start here. There'll be a link. You can click on that link. Please apply. Do it early. Be among the first. And I will be there. The speakers, basically two speakers. Me and Nikos. Nikos is amazing. So if you don't want to come to see me and meet me in person, then come to see Nikos. And by the way, I'm really super excited. I know I've got a lot of listeners in Australia. Please come to the event in Brisbane if you can. I would love to meet you. Maybe I'll also we'll do a meetup of all the Yaron Brook show fans who come. Even if you live in other places in India, in Asia, please come. Come. I'd love to see some of my Chinese friends, Japanese, Koreans, Philippines, listeners, Hong Kong, Singapore. Come on over. All right, let's have a sponsor, John Bobbin, who has a podcast, YouTube channel dedicated to fitness and health. It's really dedicated to, in a rational way, synthesizing everything you hear in all the other podcasts on health and science and health and fitness. There's so many of them, it's mind-boggling. And many of them contradict each other. And you know, what John does on the show, which is really good, is he really emphasizes how whatever you do has to be appropriate for you. We're not all the same, shockingly. Egalitarianism is not true in any respect, certainly not biological. You need to figure out what works for you. And to do that, he's very much an advocate of test, don't guess. Test, 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 test. So John is a huge supporter of the show, has been for years now. He's a friend and he's a good guy. I can't vouch for the advice because I'm not an expert, but he's a good guy and, you know, I trust him and I hope you gain from listening to his show. So the link to that, just look up John Bobbin on YouTube. The link below still does not work. I forgot to fix it. This weekend I'll try to remember to do that. But Miroslav has put the link in the chat. The link in the chat works. The link in the comment section, not in the comment section, the link in the description below, unfortunately chops off part of the thing. And I haven't gotten around getting rid of that and solving that problem. Anyway, at John Bobbin, I think John Bobbin, you'll find him. Bobbin is B-A-R-B-A-N. And then, of course, Alex Epstein, the amazing Alex Epstein, the author of Fossil Future, which is a book you should all be reading, have read, and who is the writer of the Substack, alexepstein.substack.com, who is the best thinker out there today on issues of environmentalism, fossil fuel, and energy. If you're interested in any of those topics, subscribe to the Substack and go read Alex. Go read Alex. It's phenomenal. All right, where are we? We have got a bunch of super chats, as usual. Let's see where we want to start. A lot of $20 ones, thank you. And of course, we are almost at the 3-hour goal. We've got 1 hour now. From now, we've got an hour, which is plenty of time for a lot of questions. So I'll be going over these, but if you have more questions, feel free to jump in. All right, let's start with Hiram. Hiram says, special tools and definitive techniques, STADT, or STADT in Hebrew, or is just an embellished term for athletic, do-it-yourself people. I sent the IDF belt carriages, UBS, power banks. None of these things are original. I just gave it a name. Okay. I'm not sure I understood that, but special tools and definitive technologies is something Hiram gave a name. It's a belt carriage with UBS power banks and stuff like that. You send it to the IDF. Good job, Hiram. It sounds, I'd love to see one of these. Is there a place I can go see them, like a website or something? It sounds cool. Alexis, is there a process and a case to kick Turkey out of NATO? I certainly think there's a case. They philosophically, ideologically, and strategically don't fit. Erdogan is far too friendly to Putin. He is far too friendly to Iran. He is basically what you could call a soft Islamist, but he is dedicated to Islam and the worst versions of Islam. And as such is not an appropriate strategic and ideological and fit. Now, I don't know what the process is to kick him out. I'm sure there is a process. I don't know that it's ever been done. But it could be done. And, and it should be done. It should be. If NATO takes itself seriously, now, it's complicated because the United States has nuclear weapons based in Turkey. It has an Air Force base in Turkey. It has provided Turkey with some of the most advanced weapon systems we have. So there are complications. It's not easy. And of course, Turkey is part of every secret NATO has. Difficult. But if not now, when? Not now, when? Just a headline that just breaking news, right? Which I think is funny. U.S.-Russia's prisoner swap causes blowback in Germany and Poland. Yeah. They know that this will only embolden Putin. They know that the United States gave up a lot to get its citizens back. Oh, by the way, somebody sent me the State Department declaration about traveling to Russia. And it's pretty clear. Don't go is what they say. So don't go. And if you go and you get captured by the Russians, then the United States should not trade for you. Now, I don't think that the people they did take previously, that this declaration, had already been made. I don't know when they were captured. But if it was, then they shouldn't have traded for them. I mean, they were warned. They ignored the warning. They still went. So be it. All right, another headline says, Iran's regime will not commit suicide to avenge death of Hamas, Hamas's chief, Haniyeh. So, which suggests that their response might be more moderate than they are pretending. They won't cause Israel to wipe them out. Wanda Freeman says, Yaron Brook, remember when I told you not to visit Russia? No, I don't. But I haven't been to Russia in a long time. I can't remember when the last time I was in Russia. 17, 18, 16? Can't remember. But I'm not going again. Believe me, that was a lot. I'm certainly not going now. Everybody's a member except Alexis. Yep. Yeah. Let me see if I can. I'm going to gift some memberships. Maybe Alexis, by chance, will get one of them. I don't know. I just gifted 5. I can gift 10 a month. I've already gifted 5 before. Now I've just gifted another 5. Let's see. Tracy, Midas, Nate, Alex Assault, and Mindspan. It doesn't want you, Alexis. YouTube is just rejecting you. I mean, over 55, close to 60 memberships were gifted during this show and Alexis cannot get one. He cannot catch a break. I mean, Scott was gifted one, yes. So, tragically. All right, let's see. Where are we? Next question. Michael. Is self-esteem a multi-layered thing? I know people, particularly women, who have very high self-esteem and confidence in their careers, but are very second-handed and insecure about their physical appearances and attractiveness. Yes, you know, overall it's one thing, but it can manifest itself in different areas in different ways. So yes, I do think it can be multi-layered, but at the end, it's rooted in one set of questions. Your attitude towards this world, towards your competency of dealing with this world. And you could have, your self-esteem could be bifurcated in the sense that, yeah, I'm competent in dealing with this world in those realms, but have no sense of worthiness in these other realms. And it's more about worthiness. Do you feel worthy? Do you feel able? Do you feel competent? All right. Let's see. Andy, how serious do you take Kamala's radicalism? It seems she's running Obama's first campaign, feigning moderation while harboring serious leftist priorities. It just seems like things keep getting worse and worse and worse politically. I don't take her radicalism very seriously, to a large extent because this is what she's done throughout her career. She has run to the left of how she's actually behaved. So again, when she was ran for district attorney and attorney general of California, she ran very leftist campaigns, and then very much governed from the center to the center right even. And she was harangued by the left and the party for not living up to her promises. So it's, I'm not too worried about her radicalism because of that. Now, even her moderation is pretty left. So that's pretty bad in and of itself, right? So I don't want to sugarcoat the fact that she's quite left and quite bad on a lot of issues. And, you know, we will see. I also think that Obama at the end, you know, was handicapped by a Republican Congress and ultimately was nowhere near as badly leftist as one would expect. So he was bad, and particularly Obamacare was bad, but you would have expected much worse, given how radical Obama can be. And because Republicans held Congress, he couldn't do too much, and that is my hope. All right, everybody, here's the challenge. Anybody who can do a gift membership and is willing to participate in this challenge, let's do gift memberships until Alexis gets a membership. Let's see how many it takes. Wanda Freeman hasn't got a membership today either. So there's good company. He's got good company. Edward doesn't deserve one, so it's okay if Edward doesn't get one. But, you know, you should try. So just do a gift membership. It's $4.99, and let's see if anybody hits on Alexis. I mean, I don't know. We can. Here we go. We can. Whoever hits on. Ooh, look at that. Scott is here. Jennifer, you just gifted Scott. How did Scott get here? I thought Scott was banned. And he's staying quiet. God, you have a spell on you, Alexis. A spell. Literally a spell. Everybody's getting it. Everybody's getting it except you. That's okay. I can still ban Scott even if he comments, even if he is a member. No, it's, yeah. Anyway, Paul just got gifted. Okay, Paul's good. It's Lincoln hasn't been yet. All right, so yeah, this is, everybody just do one gift and let's see how long it takes. All right, I think I answered Andy's. Liam, you said the past is dead, don't dwell on it, but your mistakes you've made in the past can't haunt you. They don't just go away. Enemies you've made decades ago can circle back around, etc. Yes, I mean, I'm not saying ignore it, but I'm saying don't dwell on it, don't live it, have a strategy about how to deal with your enemies, have a strategy about people who might come and get you. You want to keep an eye on them, but you don't want to worry about them too much. And then if you made mistakes in the past, correct them, atone for them in your own mind and in reality if it justifies and needs that. Do what you need to do in order to, have them not worry you, but look forward, look ahead. I've made enemies, but if I dwell about the enemies of my past, I'm sacrificing my present and the future to what? To what? So I don't dwell. Well, I try not to anyway. But it's not that I don't watching out for them. And how much, there's only so much people can hurt you if you live a good life. And then if I've made mistakes, I try to atone for them. I try to acknowledge them. I try to say a sorry to the people that deserve to hear it. And move forward, forward. Always look forward. Life is to be lived in the future. To the extent that the past affects your future, deal with it. But only because it affects your future. Not because it carries any weight in and of itself. Michael, is the progressive movement a lot of guilt-ridden rich people who don't think they should have money and a lot of envious losers who don't want them to have money? The two sides have teamed up to bring everything down. I mean, yeah, there's a sense in which that's true. And the rich don't want to lose their wealth. They don't want to bring everything down. But they're playing this, cat and mouse game of acting in, ways that'll bring stuff down, but not actually doing it because they don't want to bring their own life down. So, they'll raise taxes, but not too much so that they don't suffer too much. But yes, there's a lot of that goes on. And there's this term going on around now. It's called luxury beliefs. These are beliefs that you can have because you're so rich, they're not going to do any harm to you personally. So you can afford to have crazy, stupid, destructive beliefs because you will probably not suffer their consequences. Other people who are not shielded from reality as well as you are going to suffer from them. So there's a term now called luxury beliefs. And woke is kind of a luxury belief. Now, I don't particularly like that term, and I don't think, and the reality is that the progressive movement, all right, Alexis has become a member and has gifted a membership to himself and one more. So Alexis, are you now officially a member? And he just gifted Paul Cohen a membership. That's nice. All right, you guys are doing this. I'm going to have to do a member show. So, no, Alexis gifted a membership without becoming a member. He tried to gift a membership to himself, which is about the same price as just becoming a member. Alexis is toying with us. He's playing with the gods. He's trying to see, how this all works. I don't think it's random. I think the gods of YouTube have you labeled, Alexis. I think they've got you in their crosshairs. So I was going to say, I don't like, the only caveat I would have, Michael, to what you're suggesting is, the reality is that what fuels the progressive movement and what fuels bad ideas are the intellectuals who are not necessarily wealthy. Not necessarily wealthy. Just the intellectuals. So, Jeremy tried to gift Alexis, and P. Eddie tried it, and now Jeremy tried it, and, it's all failed. It's all failed. But congratulations, Sam and Remo and Colleen and Charlie and Jack and Tom Ho and Colin. You guys are all members now because of this. And Alexis gifted him, ultimately just bought a membership. He did it himself. He decided to take away randomness, to stick his finger in the eye of the gods, the YouTube gods. He just stuck a finger in the eye of the YouTube gods and said, you don't want me to be a member, I'm going to be a member in spite of you guys. All right, since we have so many new members, let me mention that there's a bunch of member-only shows sitting in a members-only playlist out there, so you can go to the members-only section of YouTube and find all my members-only shows, and there's some really good shows there and really fun shows. There's a lot of aesthetics, a lot about art, so if you like aesthetics, definitely go. But there's also a State of the Union I once did, and there's How to Live a Rational Life in an Irrational World, and there's one I did on the UN recently. So we probably gifted, I don't know, close to 100 new members today. Go over and watch all the material in the members-only space. And then I will be doing, probably in a week, we'll see how the trip, no, can be next weekend. So the weekend after next, so 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'll do a members-only show, for you guys. For you guys. Oh yeah, I did a tour of my home with all the artwork. Oh, Wanda Freeman is not a member yet. Everybody else, and Lincoln is not a member yet. So, and Diego. So we got a few more people. We still have to, I don't know, what do you baptize in membership? So yeah, go and experience the members only shows. All right, Andrew, why do people think it is not evasive to ignore the beauty in the world, but it is evasive to ignore the ugly? Good question. I mean, I think that the bottom line is because they're oriented towards harm. Now, evolutionary biologists, evolutionary psychologists would tell you we're wired that way. That is, the species is wired to avoid danger, to put more weighting on danger than on the good. I don't know why. You have to find values. Life is about finding values. But we live in a culture that embraces bad. And I think it has to do, I know everything is the end altruism, but I think it has to do with altruism, right? So altruism basically is the idea that you don't deserve happiness. You don't deserve values. You are a sacrificial animal to the people out there who are sacrificial animals to other people. And you don't deserve it. So focusing on the good and happiness and things like that goes against this altruistic belief in just how crummy life should be. You're proving life is good. Maybe I should be self-interested. Maybe I shouldn't just be a sacrificial animal to the sufferers of the world. Chandler is not bemoaning the fact that he feels like he's the only non-member now on all of your on-book chats. No, Diego just stepped in and there he is. So there's a competition. Who is going to be the last person not to be a member? Jennifer, The point is not to compare yourself to others. While it's true not everyone can succeed as brain surgery, the point is to do what is the very best for you. Yes, and this is the point is, absolutely, Jennifer. And this is the thing. It's not that any of us are going to be Simone Biles. What inspires me about Simone Biles is, I mean, what she does, but behind it, what I can get inspiration, what can fuel my ambition, is how ambitious she is, how focused she is. Focus and ambition, I can do. Focus and ambition, you can do. Focus and ambition is universal. How it gets manifested might be particular and depend on certain skill sets, but not the focus itself and not the ambition to be great at something. That's not. So, yes, you can't be maybe a brain surgeon, but you can take the focus of a brain surgeon into whatever activity you are engaged in. Andrew, your beauty segment reminds me of Dominque's era. She gave too much credence to the evil in the world and too little credit to the world of greatness, to greatness in the world. Yes, and she thought that greatness would always be destroyed in the world, that achievement would always be destroyed. And the whole reason she wants Rourke to give up is because she doesn't want him to be destroyed. I mean, it's a false kind of alternative to what she thinks. You know, the more he in a sense, you know, keeps going, the higher he climbs, the bigger the fall. So shouldn't climb at all. Let's just end it right now. That's her approach. That's her approach. I mean, it is surprising that the people getting membership are usually the people less active on the chat. And the people active on the chat are not, the roulette wheel is not stopping on their number. Sorry, I know there's a bunch of people listening to this as auditors and going, what the hell are they all talking about? But we're all talking about the fact that we're gifting memberships here, and you can tell who gets the membership. And I think it's drawn out of the pool of everybody who's listening right now live. And then, you know, but we've gifted a lot of memberships today, and there are already a lot of members, and yet there's certain people who, in spite of the gifting today and the gifting over the last few weeks, have not been gifted a membership yet. And Chandler is like, he's like, this is Vegas, this is so cool, let's bet on it. All right, let's see. Darius explains, is there anything you disagree with Ayn Rand on? Yeah, I mean, there's certain formulations, there's certain things in application that I might disagree with. I'm always hesitant about it because she was a genius and I am not. So I'm hesitant about disagreeing with her about these big things. And but nothing in philosophy. To a large extent, partially because I'm not a philosopher. I mean, everything she said in philosophy makes sense to me. And I think she was such a genius that if she says something wrong or something inconsistent, then it'll probably take a philosopher to figure that out. Probably not me. Right? So, not in philosophy. Some in application. You know, would I vote for a woman president? Yeah, I would. Ayn Rand wouldn't. And there's a bunch of other things that are not that important. But on the main things, on the philosophical things, on the philosophical questions, I have no disagreements with Ayn Rand. Alexis, I'm pretty sure I'm listening to you. Are you listening to me? Me? Thanks, Alexis. Are you going to fly over to Australia? The next ARC in Europe is actually in Berlin, but I'm not sure I'm speaking there. We'll see. But I am going to be in Australia. Lincoln feels bad for Chandler, but Lincoln isn't a member either. You guys should form the non-member association. Right. and says, agree on the main things was David Kelly's argument. Yeah, but he was lying. He doesn't agree on the main things. His whole fact value statement that he made about fact value disagrees with Ayn Rand on a really, 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 really important thing, on a really main thing. So he either misunderstood or he lied, but it's just not true. And her views on sanction are very different than his views. And then his addition of virtues is not exactly agreement with Ayn Rand on a main thing. So can't really say he agreed on main things. Lincoln says, I must be by far the youngest person here. How young are you, Lincoln? We can have a competition. Who's younger than Lincoln? Can you please regularly timestamp topics on your videos in comments with Q&A? It helps for those who listen afterwards and go to topics of interest. I think Miroslav typically does that, and sometimes he misses something, or he misses a show and doesn't do it. But I don't do them. I let Miroslav do them, and when we always get the super chats. But in terms of the topics, that is a Miroslav, or if anybody else wants to volunteer to do it regularly, that's how it'll get done. I don't have the time to actually go through it and timestamp everything. But again, I think Miroslav has for many of the shows. Michael, do you think most people abandon reason in most areas of life and only activate it to generate income? I think that's right. I think they activate it, they're compartmentalized. They use reason in some areas of their life, particularly their career, and they don't use reason in some of the others. Not your average algorithm. Is England more individualistic and capitalist than mainland Europe? I think so. I think it has been. Whether it will be in a few months, I don't know. But I think it has been historically. Right? All right, so we've got a 20, Lincoln is 17, Christopher's 38, Capitalist Spy is 32. Tom Ho is 15 in spirit. That doesn't count. That does not count. That's almost like I'm a woman in spirit. Now, it doesn't count. Michael says he wishes he was 17, or wishes he knew about objectivism when he was 17. Wolfband is 23. You might be right, Lincoln. You might be the youngest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bob is 23. And Raphael is 35. Yeah, I mean, most of my audience on YouTube, I don't know about the other platforms, most of my audience on YouTube, over 50%, well over 50%, is between 25 and 45. That is clearly the sweet spot for Yaron's audiences. Chandler's 36, Matt is 25. Yeah, it's playing out. I unfortunately don't have that many listeners, at least who listen live. Well, no, who listen on YouTube, who are less than 25. I long for more 16 to 25-year-olds. So Lincoln, thank you for being here. But yeah, I mean, you guys, Jeremy's 28, Wonder Freeman's 36, Apollo Zeus is, Apollo Zeus is 25. You're not 25, Apollo Zeus. Jamie's 28. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I thought I would have more like college and pre-college. And what I have dominantly is post-college. And particularly those ages of 25 to 45 when you're starting out in your career. That's who's attracted to the show. So, if anybody has ideas on how I can attract without betraying everything I stand for, how can I attract the young kids, then let me know. Let me know. Christian's 47. And what is it? What do we have? Linda claims to be 22. She's lying, but you never ask a woman her age, so I'll give it to her. Yeah. I started at 16. I read Atlas Shrugged at 16. And that was a long, long, long time ago. Arturo was 44. Yeah, I mean, it's consistent with the stats I get from YouTube. Clark, we are all individuals, no stereotypes, never fully woke. Never fully woke or woke? I agree, we all individuals, no stereotypes. I agree with that. Mary Aline, the balance beam in Paris is 10 centimeters wide, 4 inches. It's unbelievable you can do what they do on 4 inches. And they have these little feet. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Truly, truly amazing. All right. Clark, can you do a reaction video to Vivek's interview on Reason TV discussing whether MAGA will morph into a libertarian or nationalistic governing strategy? I didn't know that existed. I will look at it. Sounds interesting. I'm assuming if he's on Reason TV, he said he would morph into a libertarian. And I think he's unbelievably wrong. And it's interesting how he morphed from semi-libertarian into a nationalist. But we can talk about that. All right, Liam, apologies for misspelling the typo and typos. I'm writing this on my iPhone while at red lights. God, please don't get into an accident. Liam, not good. Valdrin, life has never been this good, even for the second and third world, but particularly for the second and third world. But with the rise of wealth, our expectations have risen too, so no one's happy. Yeah, I mean, I like expectations being high. I like ambition, but ambition shouldn't thwart your ability to enjoy what you have. And the fact that we all know that we could be so much better off, we should live so much better lives under real freedom, real liberty, shouldn't cripple us. That is, knowledge is not crippling. Knowledge is not something that makes us worse off. So the knowledge of that, while we should recognize it and appreciate it and fight in order to make it happen, should also not be enough to quell our awe and just you know, our appreciation for the world in which we live. Okay. All right, so the official Twitter account of Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has pinned his Twitter account saying, quote, the Zionist regime is gone. So this contradicts the previous story saying that Iran will not commit suicide. Because, yeah, you're not gonna do real damage to Israel without committing suicide. All right, who knows? It could be, I mean, the attack on Israel could be happening any minute now, right? It's what is it now in Israel? It's 5 o'clock in the East Coast time, which means it's 1 a.m., right? No, it's 12. It's midnight right now in Israel. And it could happen tonight. It's more likely to happen tomorrow night, but it could happen tonight. It does look like if you go online, there's misinformation everywhere. There's a lot of false signals, false attributions, false stuff, lots of misinformation going on right now. So you have to be very, very careful. I will try to be careful. If something major happens, you know, I might get on tomorrow or late tonight or whatever to walk you through what is going on and try to bring some you know, reason to it. But I do expect it to happen tomorrow. It won't. I don't think they're going to drag this out into next week. Tomorrow, the latest Sunday, but probably tomorrow. Jennifer, when we are in Duluth, I took a picture. When we were in Duluth, I can't read. When we were in Duluth, I took a picture of the line of towers and antennas up on the cliff behind the city. You can find beauty like that all around. In Duluth, I took a picture of oh, you did it twice. There is beauty like this everywhere. Yeah, I mean, there really is. I mean, the beauty of industrialization, the beauty of progress, the beauty of civilization is often manifest in things like towers. I find factories often quite beautiful. The silhouette of a factory, the energy that represents, the genius of that. Industrial complexes, all the pipes, and somebody knows where those pipes go. I mean, it looks like just a maze of pipes, and it's amazing. It's stunning. If you ever get a chance to go and visit a refinery or visit a manufacturing plant or a chemical plant, take it, because it truly is one of the wonders of the world, a man-made wonder of the world. All right, Pillar Nexus, the ancient gladiator. Thanks for your shows on YouTube, very informative. I keep hearing people use the term late-stage capitalism, and I wonder how it started and why people insist on using it. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Marx actually used the term, but it certainly comes from a Marxist tradition. Marx believed that capitalism goes through phases, and that at the end, capitalism dies, and capitalism doesn't die. It is destroyed by the revolution of the proletarian. And out of that comes this new socialism, which goes through some process and leads us to utopia. The process he never really defines. But Marx acknowledges that capitalism is a necessary step on the road to socialism, on the road to utopian communism. And so I think the reason people are using late-stage capitalism is, look, if you look around the world, there's a lot of corruption, cronyism. I mean, it's not even capitalism. But what they were saying, declining economy, financial crises, things like that. And what they're saying is, yeah, I mean, the socialist revolution is coming. Capitalism is dying. This is capitalism at its last leg. It's almost gone. I hate the term. There's no such thing as late-stage capitalism. All there is capitalism. We don't have capitalism today. Capitalism is a system of complete separation of state from economics. It's a system of property rights where the government, that's all it does is protect rights. We don't have that. It's a system where all these arbitrary regulations don't exist. And so we don't have capitalism. So, but what they're trying to express in this is this idea that capitalism is on its, the remnants of capitalism, what's left of capitalism is dying, and what's going to replace it is this socialism. So hang in there, because socialism, the beauty, the amazing socialism is coming. And now, when they talk about Venezuela, I don't know if you saw this in the New York Times, they're blaming Venezuela's decline not on socialism. Venezuela's poverty, not on nationalization, on corruption, on socialism. They're blaming it on capitalism, on extreme capitalism. But that shows you that what the New York Times has done, and what this late-stage capitalism and everything else is doing, is they're trying to empty capitalism of any meaning. Anything could be capitalism that you don't like. Anything, Capitalist Spy says they called it brutal capitalism. Brutal capitalism. What the hell is that? There's only one capitalism. It's a system of individual rights. It can't be brutal, because if you defend rights, what are you brutal about? So there's no late-stage capitalism. It's just capitalism and non-capitalism. What we have today is non-capitalism. There's no capitalism today. So that's the origins of the term. Fen Harper, positivity for your positive shows. All else being equal, my life gets better and better. as new music comes out. Also, PSA, public service announcement, being able to receive gifted memberships is a setting. Be sure to check your settings. Really? Really? That's interesting. So Chandler, you still have a chance. Change your setting. All right, Stephen. The Living Piano video site on YouTube site asks if there are any musical geniuses like Mozart alive today. His answer is yes, and it is Alma Deutsch, and he gives a detailed answer why. Excellent, yeah. I mean, Alma is, she's been amazing since she was very, very young, and she's like Mozart. That's great. That's great. And I'm glad to see her visibility and recognition increasing significantly. Wolfbrand, 2 officers plead not guilty to child endangerment charges related to the 2022 attack. Is it just a charge these cops for inaction after the fact? Charges regarding inaction concern me. I don't know what the attack is. I don't know how to answer this when I don't really know what this is relating to. Is it just to charge these cops for inaction after the fact? Well, it depends. But I do think you can charge police for inaction. Absolutely. They've got a job to do. In a sense, they've broken the contract. They're supposed to protect our rights. And when they have an opportunity to do so and choose not to, they better have a good reason. And that's what a trial is for. So, for example, what was that, the shooting in the school in Texas where the cops just sat outside and did nothing? And they could have saved a bunch of kids, and they didn't. That is horrific. And should you be able to sue them? Yes, I think so. But it's a good question. My sense is yes, but we'd have to talk to somebody who's really given some thought. I have not. Mary Benz, do you do a beauty walks of your marriage? Well, yes, in a sense that you want to remind yourself of all the beautiful things you've done together, all the amazing things you've done, all the achievements you've had, all the successes. How good stuff is. And look, in a marriage like everything else, not everything is good, but you want to highlight the good, and you want to focus on the good. And I've been married to my wife many decades, or 4 decades, and there's a lot to remind yourself of, and it's invigorating, and it's inspiring, and it's not dwelling on the past because it's motivating for the future. It's motivating to keep going, to keep the beauty alive, right? I think that's what you meant, Mary Benz, but Matt, how should a 17-year-old approach choosing a college? Oh God, I mean it's too general of a question. What do you want to study? That's question number one. Like the way to approach a college is going to be very different whether you're studying, I don't know, you want to study history, you want to be a professor, or whether you want to be an engineer, or whether you want to be a devoted scientist. Or you want to be not just, but you want to be a businessman. So each one of those, I would give you different guidance about choosing the college. I mean, the college has to fit the purpose. Why are you going to college? First, answer that question. Why am I going to college? Because it's not obvious you should go to college. Why am I going to college? And then what college best fits the answer to that? If you're getting an MBA, I'd say choose top 5, because what you're really going for is the diploma. If you want to be a scientist, I mean, MIT, Caltech, Carnegie Mellon, top 5 science programs in the world. And depends on the particular science will determine where you want to go. If you want to get a general education, I'd go to a great books program or Clemson University's Lyceum program, something like that, where you're going to learn great books, great ideas, really challenge yourself on a broad basis. I don't see any reason on the humanities to go to Ivy League schools. Only on the sciences. I wouldn't look at school rankings as an example. I'd look at what are they teaching? What am I going to get out of it? Mary Eileen, did Dominque make Rourke her central purpose? If so, was she second-handed? Did Dominque make Rourke her central purpose? Good question. I mean, I do think there's a certain second-handedness there. It's part of what she has to learn. It's part of what she has to shrug off. You know, this negativity and this attempt to change how it works, which is her goal, right? I'd have to think about what that's full-on second-handedness. But look, Dominque changes through the novel. She's much better at the end, much healthier psychologically and philosophically. Paul says, why is Israel waiting for the attack? Why, oh why? I don't know. God, I don't know. Why did it wait for October 7th before destroying Hamas? Why is it waiting to destroy Hezbollah? Why didn't it attack the Iranian nuclear capabilities 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Because it's morally weak, because that would be too assertive, because the world might be upset, because Biden doesn't like it, because Netanyahu's afraid of the consequences. Fear? Lack of moral confidence? Yeah, I mean, that geopolitics, that is my explanation. But ultimately, it comes down to not asserting yourself too much. Enough, but not too much. Not too much. Let the other party attack so you have an excuse. Alexis, I'm currently reading The Prize, a book about the history of all. Yeah, Jürgen's The Prize. Why does no one talk about all the theft most of the OPEC countries are being guilty of through forced nationalizations? Because everybody thinks it's okay to nationalize, right? Everybody, I mean, except for the United States, every country in the world believes that natural resources belong to the nation, a collective. So why shouldn't the Arab countries have nationalized? And Americans don't talk about it because they don't believe anymore that they should advocate for these kind of things. They've given up on that. It's not even clear that they believe it should hold in the United States. It's more tradition in the U.S. So, you know, collectivism. They can't break out of the collectivism. I used to talk about it a lot after 9/11. Leonard Peikoff talked about it a lot. It was key in many of my discussions about after 9/11 about what happened in the Middle East. I talk about it in my history of the Middle East. But yeah, people don't talk about it. I'm glad Jürgen did in that book. It's an excellent book, The Prize. But it's horrific that these countries just stole the oil. They stole the technology. They stole the oil. They violated contracts. Not that not that governments should be signing contracts to begin with. All right, Andrew. One of the biggest political frauds is that we have capitalism. Yeah, I don't know if it's a political fraud. It's just a fraud. It's a epistemological fraud. It's an intellectual fraud. It's a political fraud. It's a real fraud, and it's very destructive. Very, very destructive. Hunter, anecdote about the prize. Aubrey McClendon, the late CEO of Chesapeake Energy, gifted it to every new employee. Cheap used copies would flood Oklahoma City bookstores during layoffs. I believe it. It's a really good book. It's a really important book. You really get the history of the oil and gas industry. I mean, I don't agree with Yogan on everything, but Yogan did a few good books. The other good book that he did was The Commanding Heights. That was a good book. I used to have it. I don't think I have it anymore. I mean, maybe it was one of the books I did not keep, or maybe it's here somewhere in the bookshelf. But Commanding Heights is a really good book. If I ever do a course, I want to do a lecture course, like 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours on globalization. And Commanding Heights would definitely be one of the books that I use for that. Dean, does Adam Smith talk about redistribution of wealth? What definition of capitalism do you use when speaking of capitalism? Adam Smith, I think, does talk about redistribution of wealth, not on a scale that we have it today, because I don't think that was imaginable back then. He does talk about a safety net, I think, for the poor that the state should provide. What definition of capitalism do you use? My definition of capitalism is pure capitalism. It's Ayn Rand's definition. I cite Ayn Rand's definition as a system. It's a social political system where all property is privately owned and where the government does one thing and one thing only, and that is protect individual rights. So where the government does only one thing, protect individual rights, primarily property rights, and where all property is privately owned. That is capitalism. Individual rights. Rights have to come into it. It's not enough to say private ownership, and you certainly shouldn't say private control, because private ownership means private control. There's no meaning to ownership if you can't control it. It's an issue of ownership, and that the role of the government is to protect that ownership, and that's it. Free banking is obvious. That's an attribute. And then I would elaborate: separation of separation of state from economics, which means no state banking, no state intervention. Only intervention to protect rights, to protect property. All right, Veldrin, we crush Nazi ideology, but it seems we can't destroy radical Islam. It's spreading all over. It's not one nation enemy. How do you kill radical Islam? Oh, by first saying it's an enemy, by declaring it the enemy, and then destroying every main country and organization dedicated to it. So you would make a huge dent in radical Islam. I mean, huge, if you destroyed the Iranian regime. And then take out Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, ISIS, take them out, just destroy them, and do it quickly, brutally, effectively. And then there would be no radical Islam. It would be a shrinking ideology. Nobody wants to support an ideology that Allah appears to have turned his back to, because it just lost, how does Trump say, bigly. It just lost bigly. It just lost big. That's how you do it. You go for the source Iran, and then you go for every existing organization dedicated to it. To the extent that you can, you destroy it and you annihilate it, and then you sit back and watch the whole thing fall apart. And you don't sugarcoat it. It's Islamism based on Islam, it's radical Islam, totalitarian Islam. That's what we're destroying. That's what we're after. That's what will not be tolerated. This is an enemy with an enemy ideology. That ideology is intolerable. We're going after it. And that means you have to, across every realm, you fight it intellectually and you destroy it physically. All right, guys. Thank you. It's been fantastic super chat. And once we add in the memberships, amazing. So really, really appreciate it. Great way to start off the month of August, which is going to be a choppy month because of my travels. Next time, unless I do a show live about the war in Israel, which is quite possible, next time I will be doing the show from Barcelona, Spain. So there will not be this nice background, and I will probably be sitting, not standing, but we will make it work. Yeah, I'm looking forward to my trip, and I will see you all soon. Don't forget about Australia And don't forget about signing up for the conference, and don't forget for applying for the scholarship to it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. And I will see you all on, if not an emergency situation over the weekend, I will see you all on Tuesday. Tuesday. Bye, everybody. Oops.